I'm here today at Bruegel with Richard Boscovich. He's Assistant General Counsel from Microsoft. Richard, we're delighted to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
And we'll be having an event today about addressing cybersecurity. And of course, we know the world is more interconnected than ever before, and we know that ICT is pervading every aspect of life. But this also brings increased risks for individuals, for corporations, and for governments. So with these increased cyber risks, how can we better anticipate and deter these risks?
I mean, the course of action is pretty much standard, and we've been telling people for quite some time that the best thing to do still is update your OS, update your software, keep automatic updates on, irrespective of what OS you use, as well as making sure you run an updated antivirus. I mean, those two things alone would probably eliminate about 90+% of the problems. We see that most of the infections that occur on computers, especially on consumer computers, are a result of people not having good computer hygiene.
And how should people respond if they've been a victim of fraud through the internet?
Well, first, the person has to know that they're a victim of fraud. One of the problems we see in cybercrime now and the sophistication of the cyber criminals is that their objective is to infect someone's box or their computer in such a way that the individual does not know that they've been infected until it's almost too late. So one of the things that we tend to say is that if you can't get to Microsoft.com if you're wanting a Windows product, or if you cannot reach your AV vendor, be it Symantec or F-Secure or whatever it may be, that's a sign that something's wrong. And that tends to work pretty well, actually. So if that happens, you should immediately, disconnect from the internet and try to take appropriate actions by seeking professional help.
The internet is getting increasingly complex, and cybersecurity is getting increasingly complex. What do you see as the next generation of cybersecurity? And at some point, will the costs start outweighing some of the benefits?
One of the great things I think about what's happening in the industry is the whole concept of cloud computing. Cloud computing is probably one of the best things that's going to happen in terms, even from a security perspective. And let me explain why. From a consumer angle, a lot of the issues that we see are still basic problems of computer hygiene. Either they don't update their OS, they don't have automatic updates on, they have outdated AV. And we've done a lot of things at Microsoft to address some of these issues. For example, Windows 8.1 comes with AV built into the product, and it's on by default. You literally have to disable it or install someone else's product if you choose so. We just want to make sure that you're protected. But in the cloud world, it's going to be a situation where the hardware will connect to a cloud, and that the cloud will automatically update that OS, will automatically have updated antivirus, and it's all managed by professionals 24/7. So I really see this as a tremendous way to make sure that consumers in effect will be more secure in the future than they currently are, because they don't have to worry about certain things in terms of their home boxes, their home computers, or at their office.
In all of this, what is the role of policy? Is there a role for policy?
I mean, there's always a role for policy. There's always the question of how much policy, obviously. You don't want the policy to be to the point where it starts impacting innovation. But in this particular case, one of the things that has always, been an issue is the issue of the legal aspects of what is a crime or what is not a crime from a cybercrime perspective. I mean, there are jurisdictions in which a lot of the things that we see, which are crimes in the United States or certain Western European countries, that are not a crime in other jurisdictions, and I think that's a problem. So having a more uniform approach in terms of the definition of what is cybercrime definitely is a step in the right direction.